Hello and welcome to Mr. Carter's Science Specials. In this video we're going to be looking at osmoregulation. Before you watch this video, I suggest you watch my video on the kidney and the nephron so you fully understand the different structures that are involved in this process. As always, we have the syllabus references for you to follow along with. So let's get going. Osmoregulation. This is the process by which your body will regulate the amount of water within your blood and therefore within your cells. Now, how does your body control the water content? Well, this will be controlled by processes like sweating, where you might get rid of too much water, or perhaps urination, again, where you might get rid of too much water, or indeed drinking, again, to top up the amount of water you've got. So the volume of urine that or the water within the urine that the kidney produces is controlled by a hormone called antidiuretic hormone, or you can think of this as an anti-peeing hormone. It's against peeing, and it's made by the pituitary gland in the brain, and it travels in the blood to the kidneys. So osmoregulation is an example of a negative feedback loop. Let me talk you through this to see what I mean. If we begin here in our diagram where we're looking at the normal water content of the blood, if we eat too much salt or we sweat and lose too much water, then the water content of the blood will become low. Osmoreceptors within the pituitary gland, within the hypothalamus actually, next to the pituitary gland, will recognize that the water content has got too low because they'll actually measure the amount of salt in the blood. So as you decrease the water concentration, you increase the salt concentration. So these osmoreceptors will recognize that the water concentration has become too low, and they will stimulate the pituitary gland to produce more ADH. The ADH will travel in the blood to the kidneys, where it will affect the permeability of the collecting duct. And because we don't have enough water in the body, you don't want to lose water through urine. So the collecting duct will actually become more permeable to water. And that means more water is going to leave the collecting duct, enter the blood, stay within the body. So you get less water being transported into the bladder, and that means you're going to get far more concentrated urine, and you're going to lose less water and keep hold of it within the blood. But there is an opposite mechanism as well. Perhaps you've drunk too much water, so now the water content of the blood is too high. Again, the osmoreceptors within the hypothalamus will recognize this by measuring the salt concentrations, and then they will produce less ADH or even no ADH. Now, the lack of ADH will have an effect on the permeability of the collecting duct, and it will decrease the permeability of the collecting duct. So more water will travel through the collecting duct and be stored in the bladder. So you'll have an increase in the volume of urine, and actually a decrease in the concentration of urine, because it'll be there'll be more water there. And this means your body will lose that excess water because it won't be being reabsorbed by the collecting duct. Let's see what you learned from these slides. Pause the video now, time yourself for 6 minutes and see whether you can answer this 6-mark question here. Explain the changes in the body that help to reduce water loss. Well, how did you do? Perhaps you'd like a little bit of help. Here's a gap fill that might just help you to try and improve your English in your terminologies in your biology when you're answering these 6-mark questions. Try and copy this out, fill in the gaps. And here's the answers. When the body loses too much water due to sweating or not drinking, osmoreceptors within the hypothalamus will detect the increase in the salt concentration in the blood, and this is due to the loss of water. And this will cause the pituitary gland to release more ADH. The ADH will travel in the blood to the kidney, and the ADH causes the collecting duct to become more permeable to water, so more water is reabsorbed back into the blood. The urine is more concentrated, so the body loses less water and the blood will become more dilute. Receptor cells in the hypothalamus will also stimulate thirst centers in the brain, so the person will feel thirsty and drink more water. Now let's look at the opposite processes. Again, for a 6-mark question, see whether you can try this on your own first. Pause the video now, time yourself for 6 minutes. Can you explain the changes in the body that help to increase water loss? Again, perhaps you'd like a little bit of help. So here's the gap fill, copy it out, try and fill this in. Again, I'm trying to give you a good example of how you can have a well-written answer, because often they will be taking into account your levels of English and the quality of your writing. And here's the answers. When the body has too much water due to drinking lots of water, osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus detect the decrease in salt concentrations in the blood due to the increase of water in the blood. And this causes the pituitary gland to stop releasing ADH. So ADH travels in the blood. So less ADH travels in the blood to the kidneys, and a lack of ADH causes the collecting duct to become less permeable to water, so less water is reabsorbed back into the blood, and the urine becomes less concentrated, so the body loses more water and the blood becomes less dilute. Thank you very much for watching this video on osmoregulation. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and look out for more videos on the Mr. Carter Science Special channel. Thank you very much.